January podcast, There Are No Shortcuts by Rafe Esquith. Prologue, Chapter 8, Chapter 9, and Epilogue by Jamie Barber, Paula McKinney, Erica Tripp, and Chelsea Hadley. Prologue. Rafe Esquith's father was a professional boxer. Even after his retirement from the ring, he remained a fighter. His father continued fighting up until his final bout against cancer. Mr. Rafe introduces us to The Boxer, a song by Paul Simon.
In the clearing stands a boxer and a fighter by his trade, and he carries the reminders of every glove that laid him down or cut him down till he cried out, in his anger and in his shame, I am leaving, but the fighter still remains.
Just like a boxer, teachers get knocked down a lot in their careers. All teachers, even the best ones, get knocked down. But after 19 years of teaching, Rafe says, the difference between the best ones and the others is that the best ones always get up to answer the bell. May you always get up. It is a child ringing the bell, and he needs your help.
Chapter 8, A One-Story Town. In Chapter 8, A One-Story Town, Mr. Esquith speaks on how teachers need to be ready to overcome attacks from other teachers and faculty stuck in mediocrity. He urges fellow educators not to be discouraged by battles created by small people. Mr. Esquith states that the forces of mediocrity aren't content with being mediocre. They'll do everything in their power to prevent even the humblest of teachers and children from accomplishing anything extraordinary. For good work shines a light on the failures of the mediocre, and that is a light which terrifies those who conspire to keep our nation's children, like themselves, ordinary. Be extraordinary. Here is an example from the chapter where a teacher gave in to mediocrity and jealousy of a fellow teacher.
I met an outstanding young teacher years ago when I gave a staff development talk in an eastern state. He went on to use many of my teaching ideas and had a successful 12 years in the classroom. Yet one day he had had enough. Another teacher in his school, jealous of his accomplishments, had actually written to parents of incoming students to try to persuade them not to let their children be assigned the following year to this excellent teacher. This young man, like me, used an extended day to help his students accomplish more. He was particularly successful with art, creating a suburb after-school program in which he used his impressive creative talents to help children develop their own abilities. The fellow teacher called him a slave driver and warned the parents that a year with him could damage their children permanently. When word got out about the letter, the accused teacher was furious. Most of his anger wasn't directed at the author of the letter, but at his administrators who hadn't fired the teacher who wrote it. There were several meetings with the two of them, both separate and together. Still, when the dust settled, the author of the letter had kept his job. The injured teacher was so angry that he filed a lawsuit against his co-worker, his school administrators, and his district. He became bitter and distant. His friends couldn't talk to him, and they all wanted to know what he wanted. I'm sure that he knew.
Instead of throwing in the towel or surrendering to your anger, Mr. Esquith suggests channeling the great Atticus Finch. In order to win out over injustice and mediocrity, one must stand firm in their beliefs and refuse to be struck down by failures or hardships.
Chapter 9, A Touch of Gray. In Chapter 9, A Touch of Gray, Mr. Rafe talks about the need to be supportive of new young teachers. Many young teachers are outstanding, but they're often so discouraged after a couple of years that they leave teaching, creating a cycle of inexperience. Schools are actually so desperate for teachers nowadays that they will hire anybody to fill the void, even someone who does not want to be a teacher. And through it all, the students suffer. Here's an example from Mr. Rafe.
One year, Miss Brightlight gets wonderful news. She has been accepted into the doctoral program of education at one of the world's premier universities. She will attend the program for a year and get her PhD. She then plans to return to our school. What a feather in an elementary school's cap. A highly respected doctor of education would be on the staff of a large urban school. But an administrator tells her that if she leaves to attend the graduate program, she can forget about coming back. He needs her now. He's been working hard to make the school run efficiently, and he's losing a good teacher. So he tells Miss Brightlight that she's lucky to have been given a job and that people who leave aren't welcome to return after displaying such ingratitude. You'd think this administrator would kiss her feet. You'd think he would thank the education gods for providing someone young and brilliant to help our children. Instead, he tells her to not let the door hit her ass on the way out. And she is gone. How many of our young students could have benefited from this fine young teacher? No matter. Mr. Incompetent will teach her class next year.
Epilogue. Mr. Rafe concludes by telling us that even after 19 years of teaching, he still has really bad days where he wants to throw in the towel. But then there is a ray of hope in a small child's voice, like that of his student Karen. Two of his students, Danny and Karen, stayed after school one day to help him clean up. Danny was the most popular kid, and he liked Karen, a quiet, reserved student. So that day, Mr. Rafe overheard their conversation.
Karen, may I ask you something?
What is it, Danny?
I don't understand you, Karen. I like you so much.
Well, I like you too.
But not like that.
No, not like that.
All the other girls like me.
I know.
I don't understand you, Karen. All the other girls like me a lot. Why don't you like me too? I'm so nice to you.
Because, Danny, my boyfriend has to be nice to everybody.
Danny left the room devastated. I walked slowly over to Karen, who looked me right in the eyes. Karen, I asked her, how did you ever get to be so smart?
Because you're my teacher.
And this concludes our podcast. Thank you for listening. We hope you enjoyed it.